Speaking section directions. The speaking section of the TOEFL IBT gauges your skill and ability to express yourself in English on a variety of topics. For the new TOEFL, you will be asked to complete 4 questions. The first question asks you to speak about a familiar topic. You will be evaluated on your ability to speak clearly and coherently. As for the next 2 questions, you will be asked to provide a response according to a passage you read and listened. The first integrated task will have you read a short passage on a campus-related announcement. Then, you will listen to a conversation between a male and female student expressing their opinion on the matter. The second integrated task will ask you to read a passage on an academic topic. Then, you will listen to a lecture about the topic. For both tasks, you will be asked to combine relevant information from what you've read and listen to give a coherent response. As for the last task, you will be asked to listen to a short lecture on a certain academic topic. You will then be asked to provide a summary on the topic and the examples being used to illustrate the topic. Your answers to these tasks will be evaluated on your ability to speak clearly and coherently. Throughout the section, you can write down notes on what you have read and listened about the passages, conversations, and lectures. You are advised to use those notes as you prepare your answer. Listen carefully to the directions for each question. A short time, 15 to 30 seconds, depending on the question, will be given as you prepare your answer. A timer will be present and will display how much preparation time remains. Once the preparation time is up, you will be asked to start speaking. A timer will display how much speaking time remains. When the speaking time is up, a message will appear on the screen. Directions. You will now be asked a question about a familiar topic. After you read the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Schools should mandate students to participate in physical tests, such as resistance training and jogging. You have 15 seconds to prepare. You may start preparing after the beep. You have 45 seconds to give your respond. You may start speaking after the beep. Directions. You will now read a short passage and then listen to a conversation on the same topic. You will then be asked a question about them. After you hear the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. You have 45 seconds to read the passage below. You may begin reading now. Now listen to 2 students discussing the announcement.
Look, I really don't think that's a good idea.
You mean the new campus policy that restricts the number of consecutive days that friends and family can visit?
Yeah. I mean, I understand that some students have found it annoying to have their roommates' friends or families coming over to the dormitory. But how inconvenient are those visits, actually?
Well, maybe they have to make adjustments to their study routines due to those visits.
One time, my roommate had his brother come over. I didn't really mind because he asked for my permission in advance. In fact, I had a wonderful time getting to know his brother. Ever since our relationship has gotten so much better. And you know, a good relationship goes a long way.
Nice. Yeah, I think you're right. It's actually not as inconvenient as people think. If you're being respectful and polite enough to ask permission, I don't think roommates would mind the visits too much.
Exactly. And what's more, some students live in single dorms, so they have the room all to themselves. If that restriction took effect, those students would then have to find accommodations for their visiting friends or parents. That would take away money and time in which they could have spent doing something more important.
The male student expresses his opinion on the university's policy to limit the consecutive days that friends or relatives can visit. State his opinion and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. You have 30 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin preparing after the beep. You have 60 seconds to give your response. You may begin speaking after the beep. Directions. You will now read a short passage and then listen to a lecture on the same topic. You will then be asked a question about them. After you hear the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. You have 45 seconds to read the passage below. You may begin reading now. Now listen to part of a lecture in a biology class.
Now, let's begin our discussion by talking about the mating behavior of butterflies, specifically the Agahana maraho. Many agahanas display a special mating preference that is location-specific. In order to study these mating behaviors, apart from some luck, you have to climb mountains above 2,500 meters because agahanas mostly only mate at the towering mountain peaks. So what's the driving force behind their instinct to climb hills after hills to reach the top? Well, the increased mating chance definitely serves as the starting point to answer that question. It's important to know that male agahanas don't just climb to the top of the mountain to relax, nor is there an abundance of food compared to other places of lower altitude. Surprisingly, they reach there to compete with other males, and the territorial competition among them can be very intense. The agahanas aren't the only insects that display the hill-topping behavior. Some males of the less well-known tarantula hawk wasps also engage in such behavior. Similar to the agahanas, the male tarantula hawk wasps fly up to the top of hills to compete with other males. Some researchers conducted a study on the correlation between the size of the wasps and the elevation of the hills. What they found is that although it does seem like the male wasps at the very top of the hills are generally larger, which confers an advantage in territorial competition for the best mating areas, what is fascinating is that the peaks of the hills aren't the only place where the large males are seen. They can be found in hills of lower elevation, implying that mating actually takes place everywhere along the way to the peak.
Using the examples of butterflies and wasps, explain the idea of hilltopping. You have 30 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin preparing after the beep. You have 60 seconds to give your response. You may begin speaking after the beep. Directions. You will now listen to a lecture on an academic topic. You will then be asked a question about them. After you hear the question, you will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. Now listen to part of a lecture in a business class.
Let's talk about the types of connections that businesses build with their potential customers. A lot of data and testimonials from experienced business professionals all seem to suggest that establishing solid connections with customers can generate growth in sales. Two ways that businesses can do this are by building strong social and economic relationships with customers. What exactly do I mean by building a strong social relationship with customers? Well, when customers show an interest towards a product or a service, they are likely to want to know more. That's when a company can designate specific staff to address their needs. Though the staff have to be humans instead of, let's say, automated bots, the reason behind this is that customers feel more comfortable when they are being greeted with actual staff. That's where the social aspect comes into play. When customers establish a closer relationship with the staff in the company, they are more likely to be loyal to that company. Therefore, companies often try to establish social connections with customers. For example, a woman was interested in purchasing a certain brand of a supplement. However, she felt hesitant because she had questions about the product, so she asked the staff for more clarification. From the exchange with the staff, she found out more about the supplement and was sure that it was something that she had been looking for. With the presence of a helpful staff, a social connection was built, and the deal was sealed. Ah, yes. I also mentioned building economic connections with customers. It revolves around forms of concrete benefits, such as discounts. When discounts or other similar products or services are presented to the customer as gifts, an economic relationship takes place, which gives an incentive for customers to continue to buy products or use services from the same company. Let me share my experience with you guys. One time, I was in the downtown area where there were a few cafes. I wanted something to drink, and I didn't really have any preference as to which one to go to. But I did remember that I did have a coupon from Starbucks, which would expire soon, so the coupon made the decision for me. That's how effective having an economic relationship with your customers is.
Using points and examples from the lecture, explain how and why businesses establish social and economic connections with their customers. You have 20 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin preparing after the beep. You have 60 seconds to give your response. You may begin speaking after the beep.
Congratulations on finishing the test. I know it's a very difficult test, but you have made it through. Please give yourself a big round of applause. And as you keep on studying, please make sure to reflect on all the practice that you have done and think of the improvements that you can apply on your future practice. And if you have any question, please feel free to leave a comment down below and I will answer them when I see them. It's nice to have you here. My name's Patrick and I will see you next time.